Women who dated older men as teenagers that now realize they were predators. What's your story? I was 15 and met a 30-year-old who was an older brother of a boy I met in group therapy. He used to tell me how complicated and mature I was. Lol, so cliche. I'm now 24 and seeing or interacting with anyone who is 15 makes me sick. I felt so old then, but it's insane now how obvious to me that people that age are children. I feel the same way. I'm in shock whenever I see a 16-year-old because they're just so young. I'm 32 now, same age as the man that took advantage of me. My mother found older boys to introduce me to when I was 15/16. She would take me to coffee shops or sneak me into bars and charm her way with men in their 20s only to introduce them to me. I would date them, and she would get chores done around the house that she needed. Painted kitchen, fixed cabinets, roof work, stuff like that. I remember my best friend's mom trying to warn me and explain to me why it was wrong of my mother to let her 15-year-old date 25-year-olds, but I just thought I was really cool. It wasn't until one of them found me online and reached out a few years ago, that I realized what she'd actually been doing all that time. And of course, none of these guys knew what the fuck they were doing, so the house looked like shit anyways. I was 16, a school teacher of 30 years used to touch me and text me stuff. I didn't really realize it was bad until some years later when he married a girl from my class. I didn't tell anyone because I was scared that people would think that it was my fault. Hey, the same thing happened to me. I was groomed by the most popular and influential teacher at school since I was 15. In a year he made it look like he was tutoring me for university so I could come to his place 3 times a week after school. We would watch movies and kiss after. He had sex with me literally 2 days after I graduated high school, so he was technically in the clear. Although he made me give him blowjobs prior to that. Every time that happened and had to run to the bathroom to throw up. I used to think I'm allergic to sperm, when in reality it was just response to trauma. All this time the guy was married, too. The lies, the time spent around his wife, it all fucked with my head so much. I was jealous, ashamed and depressed all the time. Then she dumped him for another guy and I ended up moving in with him. We lived together for a year and a half until I could finally break up with him after a violent fight where I had to run for my life out of our apartment building late at night in one shoe. I don't know what he would have done to me if I didn't manage to lock the door behind me to slow him down. It was like a horror movie. I was 15 when it started, 18 when I ran away. He was 34 by the time it ended. For years this experience lived on the fringes of my memory. I just didn't want to think about it at all. But recently more of it has been surfacing. I realized what happened wasn't my fault or lapse of judgment. I was insecure, naive and inexperienced. I never even kissed a guy before. I was manipulated, groomed and used by the person I trusted and looked up to. I'm so mad at my parents and teachers for looking the other way and not intervening. I recently looked the guy up. He's gotten a country award as the Teacher of the Year and is mentoring younger professionals. I'm just disgusted and grieving my younger self. My cousin Emkay got with a guy when she was around 13 and he was around 26. She had 3 kids with him. He slept around with anyone who was willing, including his first cousin, her mom, my aunt, and her sister. He took advantage of her and fucked her self-esteem so much that she always takes him back. Her 3 kids now all have kids too. She is raising most of her grandkids. I feel sorry for all of them. Some parts of Georgia are like a third world country. I met a dude on Adult Swim's forums back when I was around 12. He was 24 and was nice to me. Things always seemed hinky to me even from the beginning, but I had no friends in real life and was definitely in an ugly duckling place, so I figured that if this is who is going to pay attention to me, so be it. He would tell me the things he wanted to do to me and eventually sent me a hideously Laura's picture of his dick, and all I remember is trying to laugh it off and said I thought he sent me a picture of a sock, skull. Eventually, he started asking that if we met in person if he could tie me up and take nudes of me. He started talking about buying a plane ticket to visit me and for my address, and I guess I finally had a bad enough gut feeling and didn't go through with it. My family eventually found out about us talking and it was a huge deal. I was rightfully banned from the internet for a while. Not that it mattered much, because I wound up meeting another awful dude older than me, but this one was locally grown lol. I was 15 with a 21-year-old. He hung around youth group and made all us younger girls feel special with his attention. I was shy and quiet, didn't stand out much, but obviously wanted the special attention that all the prettier, peppier girls got. He wasn't interested until he found out my mom worked nights and I was home alone. We ended up getting into a pretty heated argument and split when, 2 weeks in, I still hadn't let him come over because I was terrified of what my mom would do if she knew I'd had anyone over while she was gone. My first boyfriend, I was barely 15, He was 21. Worked in a local shop and all the girls at my school liked him, so came as a bit of a surprise when the biggest dork ever, me, somehow landed him and not any of the popular girls. We dated for maybe 4 months, turned out he was sleeping with 3 girls in my year, which I found confusing because I begged him to take my virginity to no avail. Always found that really weird and insulting that he never even wanted to sleep with me. Plot twist, my mom had stormed into the shop when we first started dating and told him, "If you take my daughter's virginity, I will kill you with my bare hands." God bless my mom. I was 14, and he was 21. I had just found out that my dad was gay, and that he and my mom were divorcing. I remember leaving to go on a date with him, and my mom telling my dad she's just looking for a father figure as my dad voiced his disapproval. Neither of my parents said anything else about it, clearly they had enough going on to deal with me. My ex-boyfriend, my first one ever, who was 16 at the time, eventually found out that I was dating this older guy. Furious, he drove to the house where my church youth group was having a sleepover. I heard him at the doorway asking the parents overseeing the sleepover if he could see me, and since it was a church gathering, no boys were allowed. This kid had a loudspeaker thing in his truck, and he walked back to his truck, got on his loudspeaker, and announced to my church youth group and all of the neighbors that, my first and last name, is too big of a whore to be at a church sleepover because she has premarital sex with 21-year-olds. I live in an extremely conservative town where everyone knows everybody, so it was extra horrific. Dealing with that and my parents' divorce at the same time was so traumatic. It's still fucking traumatic. I am 37 years old, and I still get a knot in my stomach and tears in my eyes just typing this out.